Hey, Mystic Michaela spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, we are talking about how to disrupt your aura. How can you break patterns that your energy even has in this 3D world in order to further evolve, live your best life, be your most authentic self. That's what we are talking about today. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
All right. So we got this idea on a road trip we were just on because we sure did disrupt our auras on this road trip. Scott, please describe this road trip.
Okay, so for many years, I've wanted to go to Kansas and North Dakota. Mm-hmm. Reason being, if you listen to the podcast, you know I've been to 47 states. I have 3 to go. Well, now I have 1, Kansas, North Dakota, and Hawaii.
Right.
So, and Kansas and North Dakota are not that close to each other. They're hard to get to, I guess. I don't know.
We didn't plan this.
Yeah, I don't want to put these states down, but, North Dakota's a hard state to get to.
Okay.
Right? Kansas, why are you going to Kansas if you don't have family or whatever?
Right.
I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Oops.
The Kansas listeners.
They're coming after me.
Well, we went to Leavenworth, Kansas.
We went to Leavenworth, Kansas.
It was awesome.
And Kansas City, Kansas.
Yeah. Oh, Kansas City was nice, too.
But, we traveled about 2,500 miles because we had a little detour at the end. It was a 2,500-mile road trip that we did in 9 days.
Yeah.
10 days.
And this wasn't listen, this was a great trip.
Oh, yeah.
It really was.
It was amazing.
Really cool. We went to a lot of national parks.
Yep.
It was really bonding because we have our kids. We have our 15-year-old and our 9-year-old with us, and it was really bonding. We had a great time, but it wasn't a relaxing trip because it was a lot of hiking. So talking about this as you were driving, this was, I was like, oh, well, what should we talk about when we get back? Because I did want it to be inspired from the trip. And you're like, how about how different our energies are on this trip? And I'm like, that is such a good idea because we really disrupted our routines and our patterns and came out in different ways as auras.
No, the idea came to me. The last house I saw was probably about 100 miles. We were in the middle of the sand hills of Nebraska.
Yeah.
We had seen nothing.
Nothing.
Not even a house for 100 miles. And that's, when this thought popped into my head.
Yeah.
So, I have to ask you, how did I disrupt my aura on this trip?
You really did. Okay, so, and I'm going to go into every aura color, and I'm going to give you guys tips for how to disrupt your aura today. But you, Scott, on this trip, I feel like being a Reds like to be in control. Reds like to plan. Reds like to have other people kind of in a system around them, and they like to be in charge of that system. I feel like you planning this road, because you do plan it. Like you're the planner of the road trip. You're the driver.
Yep.
And I'm like, whatever, because, my purple indigo is like, this is what I need. I need food. Because I get hangry. And I do need a place to sleep at night that I feel safe in. Like, those are my things. And then, I tell you that, and then the kids tell you what they need, which is usually like Wi-Fi. And you planned it all together. And I feel like that was helpful to you. And also planning the hikes and motivating everybody to get through these hikes that were sometimes kind of challenging. And I think also as a Red, you seeing the kids and me light up when we got something done. We're like, wow, we did that. Like we did that hike, or we accomplished that, or look at us. We came into a new state. We're seeing new things together.
Right.
I feel like that's a Red aura thing in general. Like when you see the light bulb moment over somebody's head, like, wow, and you're responsible for creating the context for that insight. I feel like that helped you really break some patterns.
Yeah. Okay. And so then did my aura was the color different? I know no other colors ever get in there, but was there, so I was probably always for the whole trip red and blue.
Yeah.
But was it, I know you sometimes the red is shiny, the red is dull.
Right.
Is there?
It was bright.
It's bright red.
Yeah. Cause sometimes I think when you get stuck in your rut or stuck in your pattern at home, you can get a little constraining. Yeah, and maybe you get controlling over things that the rest of us are like, yeah, please don't give us any help with that. Thanks. And here we're like, please give us help. Please. What's your idea? We enjoyed the context of your leadership, and I feel like you felt appreciated, and also you felt creative with it. So throughout the trip, I kept telling the kids Like, everyone take a minute, look at your father. And like, we just look at you and I'm like, that is as happy as he can be. Like, you were just shining. Like, you were.
Yeah.
And that's another red aura person thing I've noticed. Huge reality shifters, huge mood shifters. When a red aura is happy, everyone else feels it. I feel like way more than when other aura colors express that. When a red aura is not happy, ditto. So like, just your effusive, bright aura was shining. And I feel like everybody was feeling it and getting excited, and it was contagious.
Wow. Okay.
It was cool.
Well, let me talk about 2 trails.
Okay.
Let me talk about the start. We were in Badlands National Park.
Yeah.
And there's a trail called the Notch Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And you researched it, and you're like, we got to do this Notch Trail. And I'm like, yes, we have to do this Notch Trail. And you have to basically go up this rickety ladder. I don't know how many feet, but it seems pretty high.
It's pretty high.
And it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
It's a little tough to do, especially if you're a novice hiker.
Mm-hmm.
And, so we get to the trail. It's warm out. It's in the 70s, but the sun is shining real.
It was bright.
Hot. Yeah, it was real bright. And we get to this, and we see the ladder, and all 4 of us are like, whoa, my.
That's what we gotta climb.
We gotta
like,
go
I
up
saw
that?
pictures, but like, you see it in person and you're like, what?
And I'm like, all right. I came up with the plan. I'm like, I'm
It's
going to go
vertical.
first. Abby, you go behind me.
Yeah.
Bree, you're behind Abby. And then you're behind Bree.
Yes.
And this is how we're going to do it. Let me show you. I'll show you a couple things, and this is how we're going to do it. So the three of us did it.
Yeah.
Okay. I did it. You did it. And Abby did it.
Yeah.
And, when I got to the top, probably the shiniest red of the trip, right?
You were so happy.
Like, I'm taking a selfie. I don't like with the, I don't take selfies usually.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's do a selfie up here. So, and Bree sat it out. She didn't want to do it.
Bree was like, Red Purple Bree was like, I don't need this in my life.
Right.
I'm good. And she just drank water on a boulder with some old people.
Right. And then we came back down. Right. Fine.
And we're like, okay.
And then it's interesting. So then let me fast forward now to the last hike of the trip.
Yeah.
So the last hike of the trip was Teddy Roosevelt National Park. It was the Painted Canyon Trail.
Yeah.
It was about maybe a mile trail down into a canyon, and then back up the canyon.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on the trail, and now Bree's gotten confidence over the last couple trails that we did in the other parks. And she asked me, well, how long is this trail? I'm like, oh, it's a mile. And she's like, is there anything, we got to do here? Like,
Yeah, like a challenge.
Yeah.
Is there a challenge?
Challenge or anything? I'm like, no, it's pretty much a mile.
Like, she wanted a challenge.
Up and down. Yeah. Down and up. Sorry. And she was upset. She's like, well, let's get another one. We need a harder one than this.
Yeah. See?
So it kind of,
I love that.
Is that the disruption you're talking
she
about?
She had an aura disruption.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes, that is. Yeah. I love that. I didn't think of it that way, but absolutely. Like, towards the end. And then she was like, why didn't we stay another day in Teddy Roosevelt National Park?
Yeah, right.
And done the north, because there's a north and a south. She's like, we could have done the north and whatnot. And then you're like kicking yourself.
Oh, I'm just kicking myself. I'm like,
because North Dakota is cool.
Yeah.
By the way.
The western half. The other half is absolutely nothing.
There's nothing there.
Nothing there. But yes, I was kicked. She wanted to do the north, and I'm like, yes, why didn't I plan the north?
Yeah.
I was like so upset. That was probably the only time I was upset on the trip.
Yeah, but you didn't know.
I didn't know.
But yeah, she got disrupted too. And I think like taking that back to life, you don't have to do this on a road trip. That's the whole thing with the podcast. Like, if you can't find yourself today at home doing dishes, like, what's the point? You know, because not all of us can go do that all the time. Right. So we're going to talk about how to do this today.
That's so funny. I just want to add one more thing before we break. On one other story about the trip. And again, I'm sorry. I just have to tell the story.
Just tell the story.
All right. So 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
We did part of this trip.
Yes.
Just me and you.
Yeah.
We went to Mount Rushmore. We went to the Black Hills of South Dakota. Mm-hmm. We went to Devil's Tower. Yeah. And I didn't even realize this, but when I booked one of the Airbnbs in the Black Hills, we were 80 miles from Devil's Tower, Wyoming. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wait a second. Let's just go there. Let's do it. Like, what's the big deal? It's only another 160 miles round trip. And the kid and Bree wanted to do it too. So I was like, yes, we're going to do this. So we get to Devil's Tower, and it's funny with patterns and everything because I'm basically the same person I was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but we don't know this.
Right. So we get to Devil's Tower. You go it's a summer, it's a Saturday in the summer, it's crowded.
Yeah.
And there's this massive line waiting to get to the visitor center and the trail that goes around the tower.
It's called the Tower Trail.
Tower Trail.
Like a 1 mile trail. It's paved.
It's paved.
Right.
Easy trail. And like I set out, I was going to do it, right? But then I'm waiting in the line. And I'm puffing. I'm in the middle of Devil's Tower, in the middle of absolute nowhere. And here I am waiting in a line of cars to go around a tower to go on a boardwalk trail.
It's starting to feel real basic.
Yeah, And I'm like, all right. And I'm like, Megan, pull up the GPS. Let me see. Is there any other trail before the visitor center that we could just veer off this road and go? And sure enough, there was.
Yeah.
And there's this road, a little dirt road. And you go off it, and there's a cool trail.
And nobody was there.
Nobody was there.
How are people not on this trail?
Right. So I'm the only one veering off this line. Red aura, yeah. I'm the only one. I veer off this line, pull into this little parking lot. There's like 2 cars in it. And there's a trail. What was it? About 1.5 mile trail. I forgot the name of the trail.
The Joyner Ridge Trail.
Joyner Ridge Trail. So we start doing the trail. We're walking on the trail with the 4 of us. Great trail. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. I've seen this before.
You're like,
I've been in this valley before.
Right.
And the whole trip, I'm like, I've seen this. I've been on this Outlook.
Yeah. I'm like agreeing with you. I'm like, this does seem familiar. Because Devil Tower, you don't walk around it. It's in the distance.
Right. It's in the distance, but it's real cool.
Really cool.
Panoramic
really
views. Nobody on the trail.
And then you're like taking photos. You're like, here, Megan, you're crouching for a photo with a stick in front of it. We're like, okay. Scott's having a great time, but you're like, this seems familiar.
Yeah. So I'm like, we must have done this, but all right, fine. I let it go. We come home from the trip. Yeah. And you took notes. You remember
20 years ago.
You had the inauthentic yellow going at the time, right?
I was bored because there was no such thing as a phone 20 years ago when we did this trip.
Right.
So I had actually taken notes of everything we did.
Everything we did. So there it is. We go to the Devil's Tower card. Same road to get there. Might be the only one.
Same hike 20 years ago.
Same exact hike we did there.
And I flip open the book.
The pictures,
from all the actual physical pictures I took on our instant camera. And there is Scott crouching in front of it. Same exact flipping picture pose area. I'll post this. It's the same area, the same vantage point. Yep. It's like an identical picture.
Down to picking up a stick and holding it.
Yeah. So talk about breaking a pattern. We didn't.
I guess I did.
We did. We just did the same thing again.
All right.
But all right. So let's talk about breaking your pattern and disrupting your aura today. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
Time to talk about my most favorite thing.
Oh, yeah. Litter robot.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain this to you. We're on a road trip. We're in the middle of nowhere, 100 miles from nowhere. The Wi-Fi goes out. The navigation system goes out. Mystic Michaela over here is getting all nervous. I'm like, why? What is wrong? She's like, my litter robot app is out. I don't know what they're doing.
It's true.
This is what she was worried about.
It's my most favorite
Not the navigation, not anything else, not gas or anything. The litter robot. I'm not kidding. I wish I was.
When they use it, like the litter robot talks to my phone and I get notified.
Checks this all the time.
It's my favorite thing. Okay. I know. am obsessed with my litter robot. Let me just tell you something. Going away and having a litter robot has changed how I travel. So my across the street neighbor takes care of my cats when I'm gone. And I always felt so guilty because scooping is like the meanest thing you can have somebody do. It is so disgusting to have somebody come over and scoop your cat's stuff out of a box. Ew. Well, litter robot. And I told her and she was like, oh my gosh, thank you. Because she never had to scoop. The cats just use the litter robot and all she had to do is love them and give them water and just, make them feel okay about me being gone. Litter robot is the solution to all your litter box problems. You never scoop again with litter robot. Litter robot self-cleaning technology automatically cleans after every use. So your cats will always have a fresh bed of litter to do their business and your friends won't think your house smells like a litter box because it really does eliminate the smell. And get this, litter robot sends you a notification to your phone when it needs to be emptied. It even gives you data like their weight and insights to stay on top of your cat's health. It doesn't get any easier than this, and your cat will thank you. Mine do. Join over 1 million happy pets and pet parents who've upgraded to Litter Robot. What are you waiting for? I can't believe I waited this long. Whisker is currently offering $150 off Litter Robot bundles as a special offer to listeners of the show. Okay, go to stopscooping.com/KYA and use promo code KYA to save an additional $50 on any Litter Robot bundles. That's $100 off any Litter Robot bundle at stopscooping.com/KYA and use promo code KYA. Stopscooping.com/KYA, promo code KYA. Today we are going to be talking about how you need to disrupt your aura. You need some aura disruption. And basically, the bottom line is this is going to be about using your energy in new ways, shaking off the shackles of the 3D and the confinements it has put every part of you, including your aura or your energy signature, in. Let's explain this. Let's go back. Let's do some aura vocab real quick. So I'm going to be talking a lot today about the 3D versus the 5D. Real quick with that. And this is not some sort of, if you haven't been following me long, let me just reiterate here. I'm a very down-to-earth spiritual person. So when I talk about the 3D versus 5D, I'm not talking about some conspiracy theory. I'm talking about the 3D is the physical world. All right, so that's the earth world. You're in a body, and there's a way society works. And I've talked about this in a lot of other podcast episodes, but the 3D is the way that it works in the physical realm. And usually in the physical realm, there are certain roles we have to play. There's certain ways we have to be. There's certain patterns we have to take on in order to be successful here, because we have to do things. We have to make money. We have to eat. We have to have relationships with each other. We have to work. We have to interact. In the 3D world, it's great. It's an experience. We're here, but it can also be very confining because you're a soul, and your soul is from the 5D realm. In the 5-dimensional realm, or the 5th dimension, what that is where love exists, where there's abundance for everyone, where you're not limited by how society sees you. You're an abundant, limitless energy that is eternally worthy and receiving of all there is to offer. Does that sound like the world we live in now? Absolutely not. That's right, because that's the 3D. But what happens is you're a soul in a body, and the 3D does shape who we are. It shapes our experiences. It shapes our labels and how we think about ourselves. And it shapes some things that we do, our patterns. And it can shape our energy too. The 3D is very linked to our ego. So each one of us has an ego. Your ego is your human body's response to being here. Your ego keeps you alive. Your ego has a wonderful purpose. Your ego is also super scared of being different. So it likes you to do the same thing over and over and over again. Even if it's not good for you, doesn't matter. Your ego loves to keep you in a rut because the rut has kept you alive. So here you are, but your soul wants to grow. So your soul wants to be disrupted. Your aura needs to be disrupted. So even something as 5th dimensional as your aura, or the signature of energy that is around you, that is uniquely you, can get stuck in patterns. And I wanted to talk about this so we can think about ways we can disrupt our auras and find ways to play with it. So patterns are great. Patterns are routines. Routines can be good. Routines can be bad. So when I talk about disrupting your aura, we're going to be talking about disrupting certain routines. And these are energetic routines. Sometimes a routine, you can think of it as like brushing your teeth. I guess like a routine, you don't have to pep yourself up to do it. It's already something you do. Like, I don't have to give myself a pep talk to make coffee in the morning. My hands just start doing it. I don't give myself a pep talk to take a shower. I just end up doing it. It has nothing to do with whether I want to do it or whether I don't want to do it, whether it's good for me, whether it's bad for me. A routine is something you just do without thinking. That's why it takes so long to build them. And your energy has routines at this point too. So identifying them and kind of busting through them so you can actually expand the space in which your energy takes up and moves you through things is the goal today. So how I'm going to work this episode is I'm going to go through each of the aura colors, but here's the deal. You may identify with some of these aura disruption techniques that aren't even for your aura. That's great. Use it, man. Like, use it. And even if you don't identify with it, I bet that there's someone in your life you love very much that could really use this spark. Because my hope is with this aura disruption episode, something rips. There's a little nick. There's a little tear. Something breaks through. And once, you know, that saying, you can't unring a bell. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And because of that, so much change will happen. These are catalysts for you. So hopefully something you hear hits you, resonates with you, and profoundly transforms how you're thinking. So again, you can break out of this pattern, because patterns limit us. Routines do limit us. Some are good, some are bad, but they limit us. And it's just a different way to think about things. So yeah, so my recommendation is listen to all the colors, because if it doesn't help you, it might help somebody else. But let's start with reds. I think the red routine, the red aura disruption is really about let's give up control. But so red auras love control. They like to be in control. It's something that makes them happy. I don't like being in control. That really stresses me out. Control of other people. I don't like that. Control of a plan. No, thank you. I don't like that kind of stuff. I like control of my own life, you know, what I'm reading or what I'm doing. But red auras love control in a way where it really does affect a lot of people. And that's not a bad thing. I think in society, we say, oh, they're controlling, they're bad. Like, no, because people, as long as they're turned in the right direction towards control, leadership and positive leadership is about control in the best way possible. Because control can level up a whole system of people. When the right person has control, they know how to balance themselves so other people can obtain control in ways that works for them as well. So anyway, so talking about reds giving up control in certain 3D areas. Because what I notice with reds is, man, they love control. And if they don't feel like they have it in the right places, they'll start micro applying it to places that they really should step out of. You know, like maybe you're married to somebody and you know, I don't know, you have your credit card bill and they're like, what was this $3? What was this $5? Wait, what was it? Back up, buddy. Okay. Like, where are you not having control in the right places that you're talking to me about that? You know, there's little ways where are you putting control, if you're red, that's not serving you or anyone, and it's just a Band-Aid because you're not breaking out of your routine. You're not disrupting your energy to put it somewhere else. Like maybe you need to go be the captain of the softball team. Maybe you need to implement that plan you have to go on the road team and start working on that. When reds deviate from having control in places that aren't serving them or anyone, they can feel like they've lost control of their whole life. But when it's done with intention and self-awareness, like, oh, hey, wait a second, I've been in control. I've been putting control in the wrong places, like places that don't serve me, don't help me grow. They just it's just a Band-Aid place. They can really break from this routine, and it can be a powerful way for them to stimulate new thinking or break their own bad habits, adapt better to change, or create more collaborative team environments or a collaborative family environment where other people now feel empowered. Reds can become more creative, especially on the spot. They can let other people help more. They can listen better. They can become more relaxed, because usually when reds are putting control in the places that are micro, and they become a little aggressive and a little stressed out, and little tiny things really trip them up, and they can get scared of change. This allows them to do the opposite. They love change. They have more confidence in themselves. And they can see like, hey, wait a second. I don't want to waste my control in time, in spaces that don't serve me, or people that don't even want my help. That's not a good message to the universe. I can put it in places that are benefiting my leadership, from my leadership skills. Like maybe you take that and you take over your HOA, or you take over some sort of volunteer organization that needs some help. I mean, there's got to be a different place to put it. And that's super helpful. And like maybe you even, you know what, I'm taking all this entrepreneurship energy and I'm going to start doing resale items online, whatever, like reselling your closet online. Like there's got to be somewhere that you can do today to repurpose your control and allow you to feel in control in a place that serves you and opens you up. And honestly, delegating and redistributing anything is a goal for reds. Saying, hey, how many people do I read who are red aura and they have a business or something and they're still doing the tasks that somebody else could do instead of hiring somebody else to do it and allowing themselves to do something else more visionary or expansive. So just looking at different ways you can reprioritize your goals and put your control in the better places. That's how you're going to disrupt your aura if you're a red. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about yellows. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
We are talking about your favorite thing right now.
Wild grain.
That's right.
I'm going to tell you something. You know what kept me up at night on the trips?
What?
On the trip?
What?
Thinking that someone was going to break into the house and steal the wild grain that we have in the fridge.
That's what they'd go for.
That's what they would.
Yeah.
Forget anything else. I wasn't worried about the AC unit or anything like that. I was worried about the wild grain.
Do people steal AC units?
No, like breaking down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't want the AC to break down.
First you were like somebody breaking in,
yeah.
And now it's
many
worries. But this was your number one.
There's a lot of worries when you go away, but the number one worry I had was, is our neighbor who's watching the cats going to steal the wild grain?
Oh my God. That's so honest.
I counted it before we left.
That's
There
terrible.
was something missing. There was a chocolate croissant.
She took the chocolate croissant.
She took a chocolate croissant.
The chocolate croissants are amazing. The blueberry muffins are so good. Wild Grain is the first ever bake from frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, fresh pastas, and artisanal pastries. Every item bakes from frozen in 25 minutes or less. No thawing required. And you can now fully customize your Wild Grain box. You can choose any combination of breads, pastas, or pastries. You can even build a box of only breads, only pastas, or only pastries if you'd like. Somebody that listens to the show got Wild Grain box and they customized it to all just breads. And then they had like a bread board with all the different breads all baked and cut up and little like soups you could dip it into. And I'm like, what? And they had it for a party. Wow. And I'm like, what a great idea, but Scott would never do that because that would mean sharing the wild grain.
That's true. And I also want to know why this listener did not invite us to that party.
You would just be by there the whole time, not talk to anyone, eat all their bread, and go home.
Exactly.
For a limited time, you can get $30 off the first box plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/KYA to start your subscription. You heard me. Free croissants in every box and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/KYA. That's wildgrain.com/KYA, or you can use promo code KYA at checkout. How are yellow auras going to disrupt their aura? Well, they're going to make more mistakes. Making mistakes, redefining what that means, is going to help the yellow aura disrupt their aura. So let's talk about that. Miles Davis said, so I wrote this quote down because I thought this was so good. If you aren't taking risks, chances are you're not doing anything exciting. I thought that was so cool. So for yellows, I notice with yellows, you guys don't start something if you don't feel like you can do it correctly or right, with quotes around it. Like you'll just let something sit and fester if you don't feel like you can do it 100%. And it's like you require this complete perfection of yourself to even start to do anything. And what if you just disrupted that whole mindset? Like, what if you just severed that connection that you made? Like, perfection is needed in order to complete a task. What if you just didn't associate those two things together and you just did what you could when you did it? Why not? And then what if you didn't do it correctly, according to what you wanted to do, you just shrugged, took it as a learning opportunity, and moved forward? So for yellows, it's kind of like making mistakes is about redefining your thinking. So it's not really making a mistake. It's more just experimenting and exploring and trying new things. If everything that you do is clean and perfect, it means you've given up on experimenting on things. So instead of beating yourself up for something when you do it and it wasn't perfect, maybe you just get curious about, oh, how'd that happen? That's interesting. What did I learn? What could I do different next time? All right. You're learning new strategies, being less fearful about it. Maybe you have to do something like, all right, I'm going to retile the tub. Well, I can't because I don't know. Well, maybe you can learn. Maybe if you make a mistake, you'll learn how to fix the mistake. And also if you're yellow, you guys, your mistakes, just a little side note. When you say, I did it terrible, which I hear from, I have a lot of yellow aura friends, and they're all like, oh, I'll look at something like, you retiled that yourself? They're like, yeah, look. And then they show me like something. And I'm like, what? They're like, I messed up here. It's like, well, you did? Because I think that looks amazing. Your mistakes look fine. I just want to tell you that, like, just right now, it's fine. And you notice because yellows have and it's not your fault, you guys, your energy is just disproportionately attuned to detail more than the rest of us. So you do notice things more than the rest of us do. So when there's something, an imperfection with quotes around it, like you'll hone in on it. But what if imperfections weren't imperfections? What if they were just like learning scars? And you were like, hey, that's a learning scar. And I am proud of that. I am proud of that chip in the tile because I learned so much from that moment. And it becomes just maybe put a flippin' frame around it and be like, look, this moment taught me so much, and also just being curious is so yellow aura, and just reframing failure as an opportunity to learn something or to be curious or to have information to help somebody else later. Learning comes from failing. Constantly succeeding is such a bad thing for you. Always a win, 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 win. You don't learn in the wins. You get a little too comfortable in the wins. Life isn't a lot of wins, like anything you've learned has probably come from a time of struggle. So thinking about it that way, I think with yellow, some examples would be, I'm going to use a new technology today to plan this trip or accomplish this task or download this app and try this, or I'm going to let someone else plan something that I'm not that invested in. I can let them do it so that I plan the thing that I'm really am invested in. I'm going to listen to my gut and see what I want to do rather than doing something just because I'm the one that always does it. Try to think about what you want, not how it gets done. Kind of like risk versus reward. If you want something or to do something, is it a huge deal here if you fail at it? If the only risk is, oh, I messed up, and now I have to tell myself I messed up, and your own judge and jury is screaming at you, if that's the only risk with trying something new, maybe we take that risk because it's really not a big deal. It's just thoughts. It's just how you're talking to yourself. And you can allow yourself that moment where you're like, oh man, I can't believe I messed up. I can't believe I wasted a whole day on this, or I wasted money on here, or I should have done it this way. And say, hey, okay, that's my 3D programmed thinking. My ego has hyper used my energy to it's weaponized my yellow aura against me. And now I'm talking to myself this way. And I will pat it on its little head. That's why I say to those ego 3D thoughts, you pat it on its little head like, I hear you. And then you go, now go play, like you would to a little kid who's whining at you. So yes, yellows, you're going to make more mistakes. Now we're going to talk about blues and indigos. All right, blues and indigos. Yes, I know I'm putting you together. I know you hate that. But listen, you both have the same goal to disrupt your aura, and it is to seek out the unfamiliar. I immediately felt all of you saying no. And then you went back to your bed and you put your covers over your head. And I'm saying, no, you have to seek out the unfamiliar. How stuck in a rut are you? That's my question. Because blues and indigos, you guys are kind of the hardest. I'm going to be honest, like you, and I'm one of you, so I am talking to myself here. We are the toughest because we actually like it. We like our familiarity. We love our routine. Other people get restless. We're like, it's nice. I love the same day every day. This is great. So we really love routine. We really love familiarity. It's our BFF. We truly enjoy it. We can truly find the beauty in the everyday, in the little things. But we do have to seek out the unfamiliar because it's limiting. It is limiting to have the same day every day. It's limiting to seek out the same things all the time and not ever try anything new or push ourselves out of our comfort zones. I notice with a lot of grown-up blues and indigos, us adult blue and indigos, we're like, hey, okay, I did it. I'm an adult now, and no one can tell me what to do, and I'm going to make my life as boring as I want it to be. No one can bother me. It's like we build this cocoon around ourselves, and that's great, and that's awesome, but we do have to seek out the unfamiliar because that can be limiting. According to Southern California's Department of Psychology, I thought this was interesting, nearly half of our daily behaviors typically happen in the same time and place. And researchers suggest that the best way to break from routine and seek out new ideas is to literally put yourself in unfamiliar places and situations. Because novel experiences unleash our imagination. It forces our mind out of its tendency to rely on categories and take shortcuts. How many things do we do just automatically? So it's very uncomfortable when you're a blue and indigo to kind of use your brain in ways that you can start feeling out of sorts. So let's say you're driving to a new store to go shop at. You're like, oh, there's going to be new people here. I don't know where everything is. What if I look stupid, trying to find my way around? What if I don't know how to park? I mean, listen, if you are blue and indigo, you are Google searching the parking. You are putting it on satellite image and zooming in like, where do I park? Where do I park? Where do I park? Oh, you know what? I say, if you can't drive with anybody, valet is always worth it. And I even when I had no money and I was a student, I would do valet just because I was like, I don't know how to park anything. To me, I was saving myself and the public from any sort of mishaps with my parking abilities. That was a side note. But yeah, it's stressful. It is stressful to take yourself out of your comfort zone. And when you're blue indigo, because you feel everything, you're so absorbent, your anxiety just spikes. You're like, this isn't where I live. This isn't the energy I'm used to feeling. You feel exposed, vulnerable. You feel like energetically naked. And I know that sounds awful. And you're like, yeah, exactly. That's why I stay home. But it helps us to use our brain more creatively. And it also takes our energy, our blue indigo energy, and it can push us, there could be another comfort zone just in a different space. So you kind of go out and search around. Maybe there's a better cave to live in than the one that you've created for yourself. You don't know. So you might want to take a look, go visit other places and see, and then look back on your life and be like, hey, that's so good that I ventured out. That's so good that I took this risk. That's so good that I did something so out of my comfort zone because then I learned this and I met this person and I did this and this happened and whatnot. I read a lot of people and they're single, and sometimes the blue and indigos, I'm like, are you going out? Because your spirit guides are showing me that you're not. And they're like, I'm not. And I'm like, then we're going to stay single, which is fine. But like you're telling me you don't want to be. You have to get out there. And your spirit guides, I'm telling you, they are pushing you out there. So when somebody asks you to do something, force yourself to say yes. Force yourself and see where that brings you. All right, when we come back, and some suggestions for this. Sorry, I almost forgot. saying yes to going out instead of staying home. Here's another little way you can do it. Here's a little way you can do it now. Forcing yourself to wear a different style. Or maybe you don't wear dresses. Maybe you don't wear pants. Maybe you don't wear, I don't know, jeans. Maybe force yourself to try a different style. Maybe you want to see what life is like if you wear a shacket. I don't know, like to wear a different style, or a different color. And allow yourself to go to places you usually avoid. And just as you're uncomfortable, as you're sitting in the discomfort, sit there and be like, okay, I'm really uncomfortable right now. Feeling a lot of different energies. It's really stressful, but wow, and then have the other voice that's observing you. All right. Because we have our inner voice, but then we have the observational voice. The observational voice is the one I want you to really listen to, especially if you've been listening to this podcast a while. We've talked about that before. It's the voice that observes the other voices. That's the one that's your higher self. So the one that's like, oh, wow, you're really anxious right now. That's interesting. What can we learn from this? Or, oh, that's really stressing you out. Or, oh, we're going to reflect on that later because that's an interesting insight. That voice. Well, you're in the uncomfortable places. Okay. When we come back, we're going to talk about greens. Let me tell you something I've learned. You have a hair type and you need to honor it. Way understands that. They want to give you the confidence to live your life your way, especially on wash day. Whether your strands are fine, medium, or thick, Way has shampoo and conditioner that is your type. From volume and shine to deeply hydrating, Way helps you find your way to good hair days every single day. Let me tell you about my hair. It gets extremely dry and it's thick. I took the hair quiz, and what happened? I have to have a certain type of shampoo, which is for thick hair. It has given me the hydration my hair needs. I have seen amazing results. My hair actually lasts longer. Like, it feels cleaner for more days. It looks healthier. It looks shinier. It just feels better. And I know that's because I've taken the time to support its needs. Not just thick hair. Maybe you have fine hair and you want volume. The fine hair and conditioner will give you a lift without weighing you down. Or maybe you have in between fine hair and thick hair problems. Well, medium shampoo and conditioner is here for you. Not sure what your type is? Go take the hair quiz to find out. You can stock up and save on your favorites with 32-ounce shampoo and conditioner refill pouches too. Wash your way to healthier hair with shampoos and conditioners made just for you. Go to theouai.com and use code AURA for 15% off your entire purchase. That's theway.com, theouai.com, code AURA. Green auras are going to be disrupted by this. They're going to break routines to break bad habits. What does that mean? All right, so even if we don't plan for them, these routines, these bad habits are routines. And they can be so ingrained in us, the good ones and the bad ones, but the bad ones I want us to pay attention to, especially for green. For example, maybe so I always say about greens, it's called like the 10 commandments of the green. That's my thing with green auras. So it's like, this is the way it is. They can get very stuck in their ways. And sometimes I'll laugh at green auras because I'm like, this is how the world works. It's like, oh my God, like, thank God that the Lord himself has given you the 10 commandments of what to do and how to live life. And you know it. And the rest of us don't, because sometimes they're so stuck in their ways. You have to do this way. You don't call to fix this. You do it yourself, or this is how you pay for this, or this is how you invest, or this is how they can be extremely rigid. And then not just that, sometimes they don't have the self-awareness that this is a rigidity or this is a routine that they themselves have subscribed to. They think that this is how it should be. So it can lack the self-awareness. So right there, if that sounds like you, take a step back and be like, hey, wait a second, there are perspectives that are different than mine. And maybe one of those could serve me better than the one that I've adopted and created into some sort of land-wide decree. and I'm not being mean to the greens. It's just, if you know one, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't understand it, you might be the green. Okay. Like if I'm talking about this and you're like, who's that? I don't know anybody like that. Okay. It might be you. So you might want to check yourself or ask somebody, does that sound like me? Do I have ways of doing things? And my way is the only way? Because even yellow auras can be like this a little bit too, but they have a little bit more perspective. Like, yes, there are other ways to do it, but I do prefer this way, and I found it's the best one. Greens can be a little bit like, and it's, the thing with greens is because they weigh all their options and they're kind of mathematically think of things without thinking that they're thinking it. So greens can look at a problem and just solve it. And sometimes they don't have language in themselves to talk back why they did that, even to themselves. So they'll look at something and be like, well, here's the solution. And then if somebody's like, why? And they're like, just because it is, that's the way it is. That's the best way. So if somebody else does it different, they don't understand why they're not seeing the same things that they're seeing. So it can cause a little friction when you know a green and you want them to do something different. But back to the breaking routines to break bad habits, if you think something like greens tend to do is the only way to do something, that means that you're not going to break a bad habit because you think it's the only way to do something. Like, let's say you come home after work and you're like, you don't work out after work. I don't work out after work. I don't take walks after work. I don't do that after work. It's like, why? Because you don't. Because, it's like, okay, why? Like, what if you changed it? That's not what you do. It's like just poking, exploring it. And this isn't an endorsement to toss out like your schedule, just a call to notice if your regular behaviors might be reinforcing negative habits. Like on Tuesdays, I eat dinner at this fried chicken place. It's like, but what if you didn't? No, that's what I do. It's like, but what if you didn't? Like, what if you just switched it? Like, what if, or I work on, this project in the house myself. Even though maybe you're getting older or it hurts you or it's not good for you or it's causing friction in the family or something. It's like, what if we just think about a different routine and implement it? And I got this because I thought this was really good. This man named Charles Duhigg, who wrote The Power of Habit, says, unless you deliberately fight a habit, unless you find new routines, the pattern will unfold automatically. So this is about finding it, exploring it, fighting it, and paying attention. So I guess like for greens, it can really be a prison. The bad habit can be a prison. Some things I've heard from greens auras is like, well, I don't date people with kids. Or I don't date people without kids. This is what I hear. And it's like, but what if, nope. But what if they, nope. But what if, nope. It's like, really, like, come on, disrupt that. It's okay to try a different perspective out. Or I only purchase Wrangler jeans. I don't know. I just picked like the dad green, but pick anything. Okay. But why don't you, nope. Why don't you try on this? Nope. Come on, try on something else. Okay. Vacations, we only take the pop-up camper. Like, why? That's what we do. Like, come on, that's what we do. I was like, okay. Sometimes it's not a bad thing either. I'm not saying like doing something's bad. I'm just saying, what if you cracked it open and tried something new and see how it felt and sat in the discomfort, and how would that disrupt you in a positive way? But let's talk about purples now. So how purples can break or disrupt their aura, break their aura patterns, is tell themselves, you know what, it's better than nothing. So this is kind of like the better than nothing approach. Let's review on purples. Purples, if you're purple aura, what's happened is your entire life, you're used to messing up. Everything you do kind of isn't quite right if you compare it to other people in the 3D world. Like perhaps your performance at work is different than other people's performance at work. I notice with purples, they work better in chaos, in situations where it's on the fly, creative thinking, where there isn't a plan for the day. It's kind of like where things are thrown at you. I see purple auras working great, for example, in the food industry. being the restaurant manager, the hostess, or a service person, their line cook. They can handle it, like rush, slow, on the spot, change it up. Yeah, they can handle all that because their talent is in working on the fly, kind of off the cuff. But our own society does value more planning and gives a lot more pats on the back if it looks like you pre-thought things. That is just not the Purple's expertise. So when you're Purple, you're used to, just because that's life and you've already been through school and you've been through all sorts of relationships, you know, you're kind of like have some sort, and if you're not thinking about this and if you're new to also what I talk about on here, you can have a really inferior subtext to how you think about yourself. Like, oh, I screw up, or oh, I don't do that right, or I can't get that done, or that's not going to happen, or and almost like for you, your routine is screwing up, like Purples can look at routine as a place where they feel inferior, imprisoned, dull. Routines actually become the thing they end up breaking. Their routine is breaking a routine. The routine becomes destructing the routine. So I mess up at the job, or I mess up a relationship, or I mess up the house, or I broke the thing, or I didn't know how to work the thing, or whatnot. But what if there wasn't a standard when it came to completing anything? What if you just patted yourself on the back at any attempt at all and said, hey, it's better than nothing? In this way, you don't fail or you don't destruct. You're just, everything's your own spin. What if there wasn't a standard to completing any task? It was just you doing you. And at the end, looking back and be like, that's how I did it. Cool. Because right there, the better than nothing kind of mindset for a Purple allows you to take a break from going into routines and expecting to just blow them up, which in itself is the routine. So in Purples, I see a lot of people, getting fired a lot from jobs, or quitting a lot from jobs, or, maybe it's relationships. They blow up friendships, or they blow up relationships, or they also blow up their relationship with their self. I'm going to start a workout routine and then I'm just going to just bomb it, or they start a routine with themselves and then they just blow it up because you don't even realize that your routine is destructing the routine. So instead, we'd have to take a step sideways and be like, hey, it's the better than nothing approach. So what does that look like? Maybe it looks like routines are suggestions, and that you revel the spin you put on it, and you basically pat yourself on the back no matter what you do. So you're like, okay, I'm starting this workout routine. I'm doing the boot camp at 5 a.m. every morning before work. Okay. All right. Didn't work out. I walked the dog after work. Hey, better than nothing. All right. I took the stairs. I parked far away from the store and I walked there. Better than nothing. Just start doing that to yourself. Better than nothing. Better than nothing. And then you'll start saying, hey, it's better than nothing. Hey, I did good. Better than nothing. You're changing the narrative from, yay, I screw everything up, to, hey, I do better. It's better than nothing. I did it. Good for me. Another thing I would suggest is taking traditions and putting your own spins on it. Especially, it's not holiday time so much right now, but let's say, I don't know, 4th of July is coming up. Like, let's say, the barbecue, the way my family always did it. What if you did your own spin on it? Make something your own. You don't have to do it the way other people did something. Maybe you don't like to make potato salad. That's not like your thing. So make something else, you know what I mean? Just put your own spin on things. Take your tradition and do it the better than nothing way. And then also your own way, the way that you want to do it. Instead of copying other people's routines, basically, guys, just make your own. It's better than nothing. And then it's also got the stamp on it. It's yours. And no one can tell you how to do it because you just redefined it. Purples love that. When we come back, I'm going to talk about pinks. I had signed up for this extra storage app or something, and man, so easy to sign up for it, but how was I going to cancel it? I had no idea. But Rocket Money not only told me about it, they also canceled it for me. How much do you think you're paying in subscriptions every month? The answer is probably more than you think. Over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. I definitely did. I've forgotten about lots of my cable subscriptions or subscriptions that you just aren't getting around to canceling. Well, thanks to Rocket Money, I'm no longer wasting my money on the ones I forgot about or the ones I don't feel like doing anything about. They do it for me. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/KYA. That's rocketmoney.com/KYA. rocketmoney.com/KYA. How do pinks disrupt their aura? Well, we're going to call this one giving yourself a fresh start. So I thought this was interesting. According to the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, taking a fresh start can have a powerful psychological effect that leads to positive behavioral change. This fresh start effect suggests that creating shifts in your routine can lead to a sense of starting anew, which helps to reinforce positive habit changes. But here's the thing. Pink auras are already good at this. I see pink auras as the best flippin' manifestors that there are. We could all take a page from the Pink Aura book. If you've been listening to my manifestation episodes, every aura color has its own special way to manifest. Pinks, I hate to say it, but they're pretty flippin' the best at it. And pinks do this because they have something that I call the joy bubble. It's just a bubble of joy around there, and they can live in it and not really pay attention to anything that doesn't agree with their joy bubble. Which, if you've ever seen, oh my gosh, I'm kind of going off a little bit, but it was a big trend on social media not too long ago. It was called like Lucky Girl Syndrome, and that was like basically, of course, nobody talks like this except us over here, but that was basically pink aura manifestation stuff. Lucky Girl Syndrome is a manifestation tactic where basically you just say all the time, like, I'm so lucky. Everything works out for me. What I want wants me. Like, you just say stuff like that to yourself all the time. Has something to do with your brain and how with all the input that's coming at you all the time, your brain can only absorb 20 pieces of it or something. It's like a very small amount of information based on all the stimuli that's coming at you all the time. So if you flood yourself with just, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky. Everything works out for me. Anything I want happens. Like, you're staring at your vision board. You're just like talking to yourself like that. The thought is that if our thoughts create our reality, which they do, there you go. Your thoughts are lucky. And then your reality will be too. Does it sound like somebody could say, yeah, that's called delusion? Sure does. But if it works, why not? Okay. So anyways, back to pinks. They can say to themselves, hey, fresh start. This is a fresh start. I mean, it could just be a flippin' Tuesday. They're like, fresh start, and that will work for them. They can start over with a snap of their fingers. So using this strategy to disrupt their aura works for them. Like, and some examples for pinks would be like, I have decided that this is my lifestyle. And they start looking at pictures of the lifestyle they want, and they think about it, and they watch programs about it. They're like, that's my lifestyle. That's my lifestyle. That's my lifestyle. Whatever your lifestyle is, whatever it works for you. There you are. That's kind of what you did for a fresh start. That is my lifestyle. And even pinks are good at this because you can look around. The problem with manifesting is you look around and the 3D world does not catch up as quickly as the 5D world. So in the 5D, if you're saying, I'm so lucky, immediately that's what you are, because you're just energy in the 5D. You're lucky. You say you're lucky, you're lucky. You say you're loved and in love, there you go. It's happened. Takes a minute for the 3D world to reflect that. But pinks are kind of good at shutting out the stuff that doesn't agree with what they're telling themselves. Hence, makes manifestation a lot easier, and fresh starts can disrupt their aura patterns quickly. Other things that you can do. So you can decide, like, I'm not dealing with that behavior anymore. from people. Like when people dismiss me or when people look at me a certain way or people, you ever been in a conversation with people and they just turn their back at you and you're just like, I was talking. Like pinks, I'm not dealing with that anymore. Pinks, I can walk away. I'm not even, pinks are great because they won't even think about it. They're just like, they just walk away. And everyone's like, oh, they should be offended. And it's like, they don't even remember you. They don't even know. You know, that's like the pinks have the best revenge that way. Or maybe like you're trying out fresh start, new joy bubble routine. Maybe you're in your Disney adult era. Okay. Maybe that's you now. Wasn't you yesterday? Whatever. It's me now. Okay. Maybe you're in your now art era. Maybe you're in your fantasy book series era, you know, whatever. Dive in there, fresh start, disrupt the aura, see what happens. Finally, we have the turquoises. And what can disrupt the turquoise aura patterns? It's called the improvisational mindset. What is that? All right, so you've heard of improv comedians or you've heard of jazz musicians. They often improvise. They have mastered this idea of breaking from routine and taking new approaches. And that's what they do. Their medium is chaos. They create with that. And that's why we love improv comedy. It's like you never know what they're going to say. They never know what they're going to say. It's novel. And jazz musicians too. They're just up there. They're all together. They're just playing. It's creative. They're creating new sounds. They're riding the vibe. Okay? That is what turquoises can do really well. The willingness to go out on a limb and make yourself feel uncomfortable and fall flat on your face. That is what turquoises can do to disrupt their aura in an improvisational mindset. So problem solving is great. You know, we all need it, especially in the 3D world. You need to know how to solve problems. Sometimes it's just not enough. So if you're just in the problem solving mindset, like turquoises tend to be, how do I fit in? How do I not stand out? How do I make people like me? So back it up. Turquoises are very absorbent and they tend to feel kind of on the fringe of everything. Society, sometimes friend groups, coworkers, always on the fringe. So they can be using their energy too much in this 3D world to not be in the fringe. How do I get in? How do I look normal? How do I fit in? How does everybody not notice me? How does everybody notice me? You know, all the time. What if we took that energy as a turquoise and we're just like, hey, I'm going to use the mindset differently. What if instead of manipulating energy for the sake of fitting in, you just start playing with it? You know, what if you just follow an interest without worrying if it's consistent with a version of you other people are comfortable with? Or you try new styles or new interests. You redecorate your house. You take your entertainment, you take your power from how you make everybody else raise their eyebrows at you. What if you just played with the energies and had fun with it? Like, oh my God, that happened. And then that happened. Just like an improv comedian, you know how they always say like the yes and approach. I don't know. I love this stuff. I would be terrible at it, but I love learning about it. So in improv comedy, you can never say no. So when you're working with other people, the whole thing is you have to say yes and, meaning you got to go with whatever anybody says. So if they're like, okay, you know, the audience, like you're a donkey, like, okay, I'm a donkey. And you like ice cream. Yes, I love ice cream. Okay, so it's always yes, yes, yes. So what if you did that with the energies that came to you as a turquoise? Since you're getting them anyways and they're absorbing into you, what if you just played with it? And felt what happened. So disrupting your aura can come from improvising with the energy instead of shifting it to do what everybody else wants you to do with it. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
All right. So after this road trip, back to the road trip. Okay. Because I want to hear, all about how you guys are going to disrupt your aura and break your patterns over on the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family Facebook group. But we have to talk about something that did happen in a disruptive way that was a little chaotic on the trip, but that's life, right? But really brought out all our aura colors in a different way.
Okay.
And that is when, at the end of the trip, you know, we were flying Southwest and you have to check in the day before. Okay, fine. There was a lot of rain in South Florida where we live. we're like, oh, what's going on? My neighbor, who has premonitions, by the way, texts me, hey, when are you guys coming home again? Because she's watching the cats. I'm like, tomorrow. She's like, I had a dream that you told me you weren't coming home tomorrow, that you actually flew to California, the West Coast. And I'm like, oh, no, we're coming home tomorrow. All right, just keep that all in your little mind.
Right.
Okay. So we get to the airport, and because it was delayed.
Right. And I do want to add that I believe, and many people have already said, that I've manifested this.
Oh, yes.
Because
it's true.
Every year on Thanksgiving, I watch the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with any family member that's willing to watch it again.
And you cackle.
Right. And the whole trip is about them getting stuck in Kansas.
Yes.
And having to get to Chicago.
Right.
Okay. And I just think it's the greatest thing ever. And I always reference how I would love to be stuck in Kansas.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Right.
We got stuck
in Kansas. In Kansas City Airport.
Yeah. And the day before we were in Kansas, and we were in the hotel waiting to see if this was being canceled. And there I am stuck in Kansas.
Well, it was delayed.
Yeah, delayed.
And then we were supposed to, and I'm like, whatever. We got to the airport. We're like, okay, so we have to wait 3 hours. We're fine. And then it gets canceled. And we look at our phones and it's like canceled. And then they like rebook me
2 days later.
2 days later. Like they automatically rebook you at 5 a.m. 2 days later with some sort of connecting flight.
Yeah, like 3 layovers. Else. I'm not doing that.
So, okay.
I'm already getting mad again.
What happens is we're at the airport and you get the alert on your phone. And you're with Red Aura Scott. So all of a sudden, as the news sinks in, if you could see like me, his aura starts to look like the siren emoji. Like that's literally what Scott looked like. Just replace Scott with the siren emoji. And immediately, because it takes him a minute, he's usually a really nice, polite person, but I'm like, I'm going to talk to all the helpers at the Southwest Gate. You will not be speaking to anybody. This is me now doing it, using my own empathy powers to get them to like me and hopefully get us on a flight sooner than 2 days from now. So we walk up to the counter and I pick. This is where all my aura stuff comes in. I'm like, all right, we're going to this guy. Like, I will wait all day for this.
You did pick
one
a good guy.
I'm like, his name was John, and he was amazing, and he was green and indigo, and I'm like, I'm going with John.
No, and I agreed with that. I was like, yep, she's picking the right guy.
We're going to him. This is when I take over. I'm like, we're going to him, and I will wait here until he is ready. And we walked up.
Oh, yeah, but you don't understand. While we were waiting in that line, because there was like probably other people that got canceled.
Everybody at once, they flocked.
I now have the Enterprise car rental app. Okay?
Ooh.
And I was on there.
Mr. Fancy.
I don't know what they call it, but I'm like a super duper client.
You're a super duper client member. Diamond Gem man at Enterprise.
I'm like Priority Pass man.
Priority Pass. Diamond Elite.
Yeah.
At Enterprise.
Yeah. So they know me. Okay. They always upgrade my cars.
You rented like 8 times total your whole life.
Yeah, pretty much. And every time I've gotten the big upgrade.
VIP.
Super duper upgrade. So right away, I'm like, all right, just get our money back. When you go up there, I'm like, get our money back. And I am going to rent a car and I'm driving right now.
Get me a voucher. Home. Get me a voucher, Megan. They better pay immediately. We're driving home. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, dude, I am not driving from Kansas to Florida.
It's 20 hours.
I am not doing that. We had no underwear left. Okay, let me just preface this.
Yeah.
We didn't have laundry for days.
They didn't have any underwear in the movies Planes, Trains, and Automobiles either.
Anyways.
Okay.
So we were like, I'm like, no. And in my own head, I'm like pushing Siren Red Scotty to the side. And I'm thinking, we're getting home today. Like that is like, I feel like when these things happen, my purple kicks in. And it's like, we are manifesting the crap out of this. I am getting to Florida today. I don't care how it happens. We're getting to freaking Florida today. And so I go up to nice John, Green Indigo John.
Yep.
I'm like, hi, because you have to be polite. These people work there. You're like Siren next to him. And I'm like, okay, how do I get to, he's very nice. And I'm like, how do I get to Florida today? He's like, okay, well, like Tampa. And then all of a sudden you're like, any flights to Atlanta? And I'm like, Scott, that's 8 hours from where we live. Tampa's 4 hours from where we live. You're like, what are the flights, John? Give me those flights. It's like you wanted to drive.
Well, the Atlanta flight was 555. They left at 555.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I thought that was a sign. I'm like, yes, this is a sign. Go to 555 Atlanta.
My sign was that's 8 hours away and Tampa's 4 hours
So you're
away.
saying I'm going with the more spiritual stuff, and our auras are disrupted.
My goal was to get to Florida, and you're like trying to get further away. I feel like you wanted to drive home in some capacity. But it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I was taking over at this point, and you're making John tell him like how many flights here, what time does it get in, what time does this get in, what time does that get in, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Anyways, I won. We got the Tampa flight.
We got the Tampa flight.
And then we got in at like midnight. We had to get.
Yeah. And I went back onto my Enterprise app.
Yes.
Not a commercial for Enterprise, by the way.
It's super
this
not.
Is not. No. And
Scott would love that, but it's not.
Enterprise, if you do want to be a sponsor of this podcast, we'd be more than happy to have you. And then I could get an even greater upgrade. But so then I got the rental car from Tampa to get me to Fort Lauderdale. So I did get, I got a little bit of the planes, trains, and automobiles experience.
You got the experience, and you said it 4 billion times. But what's crazy was we're on the flight, and it's pitch dark, and you're like, Megan, from across the row.
Yeah.
Megan. Your neighbor, Erin, the neighbor.
Yeah, she was on the podcast.
She was on the podcast on a premonitions episode a while ago. But you're like, she wasn't wrong, because we are going to the west coast of Florida. Which is Tampa. It's West Coast. We live on the East Coast. We are going to the West Coast. I'm like, oh my God, our premonition was right. How weird was that?
Yeah. I mean, my aura is totally disrupted.
It
is. But I think the one thing that actually summed it up, and when we were in the airport, I had to get one of the discussion groups on.
Yes.
And it was Kendra's Wednesday night crew.
Zoom on your phone.
Yes. So shout out to Kendra and the Wednesday night crew at 8:45.
The Flirtles.
So
it's a turtle flamingo.
There we are.
Had to be there.
Yep. We're like totally, me and you are looking like total ragged. Like you said, we haven't changed our underwear.
We haven't changed our underwear.
And
our faces might show that.
And there's Kendra. And Kendra's like got that pink in her. She's all bubbly.
Oh yeah, Kendra's pink.
Hi guys, Kendra. And you're explaining her to the situation.
Yeah.
And then I think she summed me up in one line. I forgot what she said. I think you remember.
I'm like, Scott wants to go to Atlanta. He wants to rent a car. She's like, yeah, Scotty's got to fix it. I'm like, oh, Kendra, yes.
Well, that's what it was.
That's what it is. He just had to fix it. He had to fix it.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Like you had to be in charge of fixing it.
I was even before, because like when the flight got delayed and we were in the hotel and I was thinking maybe this is going to get canceled.
Yeah.
I was already planning in my head to just get this rental car, like drop, because we had a rental car, drop the rental car off, get the next rental car, and just drive to Fort Lauderdale.
Like, we'd still be driving. Like, again, I'm super okay that it worked out the way it did. We're home safe. But Kendra got you.
All right.
Yeah. Well, so I asked Abby.
Yeah, because, I mean, everyone's had a horrific airport story.
Yes.
I assume if you've lived life,
you
have a horrible airport story. Ours wasn't that bad.
That's really not that bad.
Yeah, we got delayed. We had to go to Tampa, then drive to Florida in a total monsoon. But fine.
It's fine.
And we're going to want to know your stories. We're going to probably put that on the page.
Oh, that's a funny one.
This. Yeah,
how did you react to your bad airport story?
Right.
Or travel nightmare?
Yes. So,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, travel nightmares.
Yeah. I think let's do airport travel nightmares.
Okay, well, I'll make that a post later because that's funny. But Abby, I'm like, hey, Abby. And she does this for us every once in a while. This is our 9-year-old. She's a turquoise purple. I said, can you do how every aura reacts to a flight cancellation? And she did.
Yep.
And I have the list here. So this is by Abby. Red. Wants to fly the plane himself. Home.
That is so true. I'm going to tell you.
Like, I'll make it through the rain.
Yeah. And are we going too long? We could go long in this segment, right? It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can go.
I'm going to tell you.
You guys can go.
Overtime. Okay.
You can always go.
Being a red, my favorite thing on a plane is the flight tracker.
Oh, brain rot. That's what Bree called it. Bree called it.
I'm on that thing the entire time.
Airplane brain rot.
No.
Because you just stare at it like, okay, so the way we sit, because Southwest is 3 and 3. So I sit in between the girls. Bree gets aisle, Abby gets window, and you get stranger people, but you're in the aisle. Okay, go on.
Yep. No, but what Abby said is 100% correct. It's not brain rot for me because it's the only thing that gives me a sense of control when I'm at 35,000 feet.
Okay.
So
I bet a lot of people relate to that.
Yeah. So for me, I'm like, if I see that it's still at 35,000 feet, we're going at 500 miles an hour.
Right.
And we have X amount of miles, this and that. It's not a green thing for me. It's that I feel like, okay, I'm in control. Because if I don't like, I'll fly, but I don't love to fly.
Yeah.
I'm not like, it's not going to damper anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
But so Abby's 100% correct. The only thing I won't do, and I'm terrified to do, is fly over water.
Oh, I know.
That's why Hawaii is going to be real hard for me.
Yeah.
I have to take the cruise.
Yeah.
This is way off topic.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. Flying over a vast ocean.
Yeah.
Is terrifying to me.
That doesn't bother me.
Doesn't bother you?
No.
All right. But Abby got that right.
Yeah, but it's just funny because during the flight, like we would all just look over at you you're just like staring.
No, I am on that.
The flight tracker.
No, I don't watch TV. I don't watch the movies.
Yeah.
I watch the flight tracker. And again, it's not for a green reason. It's because I feel in control. Yeah.
Well, that's Abby's thing.
Yep.
Abby said for orange auras, when your flight is canceled, you keep it calm, you have ideas, and you call in a favor.
Oh.
Call in a favor. Like, I know somebody. Now, oranges usually have the connections. Like, I'm going to get us that private jet. I don't know. Like, the oranges are kind of like that.
I like that.
Yellow, she said organized. Somehow already has everyone's first name at, she meant corporate. Like, that's what she meant. I did edit that for her 9-year-old vocab. Somehow has everyone's first name at corporate and vouchers and 6 plans of action with a pro and con list.
Yeah, I can see that. And the yellow probably has already looked up the flights themselves before coming to John, the green indigo guy. They probably they probably already know what flight they want to go on. To get me on this flight, I'm going to get this car.
Well, that's her greens.
No, that's her greens too.
She's like, try to think of routes to go with different planes, know when and where all the flights are at this time, calculating flight times and paths.
Okay. And weather patterns.
Oh, yeah, the weather patterns.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like kind of more, I think she was trying to say more systematic approach to it. Well, this would take this long, and this would take this long, and this would take that like that.
Okay.
Blue auras. Talk to people and try to BFF them and get empathy. Hanging out till somebody feels bad for them and gives them a seat. That's blue, she said. Okay. That's an option.
Yeah.
Indigos. Book a hotel and take a nap. I will say,
so you go for that, the option they gave us, which was 2 days later at 5 a.m., just take that flight.
If I didn't have the kids and I just stopped at a Target and bought more underwear, I would have been okay with staying 2 more days in Kansas City. It's a lovely city.
Okay.
And just like go back to a hotel somewhere, take a nap. Okay. Purples. This is a trip. Cool. Starts calling and telling everyone it's not their fault. They can't go to work now or school.
Okay.
Like they're like, oh, it's an excuse not to show up to stuff I didn't want to do anyways.
Okay. So like a purple, because like they offered us so many different places, like go to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So you're saying like a purple might just
like,
there's a connector in Vegas?
Darn.
Connector in Vegas.
Yeah. Can't come into work. I got redirected to Vegas. So darn.
I think she got that one right.
Yeah. Yep. Like it's like 5 days later. It's like, still can't get a flight.
Yeah. Or the purple might have forgotten to check in anyway.
Anyways.
So they weren't going to get on the flight no matter what.
That is true. They're in, because like with Southwest, you have to check in and that determines like what section you get. So if you don't check in, you probably aren't getting a great seat if you get one at all. Pinks.
Yeah, you go and I can add that at the end.
Okay, pink auras. She says, what's going on? And then they go to the gift shop when their flight gets canceled. And finally, with turquoise auras, they pick a flight anywhere and just start over there.
Okay.
In a new land.
I will add for...
That's what she said.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they live there.
And they live there. They start over. They're like, well, this is where I live now.
Yeah, I can see like with the pinks, because they have in Kansas City Airport, they have like really cool gift shops and everything. So they might come out in a whole nother outfit, adorned with all Kansas City merch. Yes. Taylor's not. What's it? The boyfriend. Taylor's my boyfriend. Or what's the? No. What's that shirt?
Here, they kept having a shirt in the airport. Yeah. Like I'm just here for Taylor.
I'm here for Taylor.
I'm just here for Taylor.
Yeah,
was a shirt. Yeah, a lot of Taylor Swift stuff.
Yeah, so I could see them coming out with all that stuff.
Yeah,
and doing that.
So that's from Abby.
I will say. And I don't know, this must be a red thing. Mm-hmm. for the one thing I was not going to compromise with this thing. Now, I assume I'm not getting a penny back from this 24-hour delay that I had.
Oh, no, they already told you whether that's it.
I'm
Too
not
bad.
getting any airport vouchers for food.
No.
Making fun of me for the vouchers.
He did want a voucher really bad. That's why he did.
But this is the one place I drew the line. With Southwest, you have to book 24 hours in advance to get a good seat.
Mm-hmm.
And in my original flight, I was on there. Well, you were on there because I was in the middle of driving in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I made sure I was on that app at the exact second to put in your code to get a good seat.
Yes.
So I had the best seat you can get
for that.
For the Southwest, for the original flight.
Yeah.
And I said, there is no way. Because they were going to try to give me, no, it's like you get the rando seats.
Yeah, and there's the kid. We have the kids.
Yeah. And I said, no, I put the time in to get that seat. I want that seat on that Tampa flight.
Right.
And I think, and that was like one thing I was not compromising on.
Yeah, you come in harsh, but then with John, who's a green indigo, I'm like, but the kid, and I kind of went in after because you were like, we are not.
And he's like, all right, I'm like,
well, I have a 9-year-old and she has to sit next to me. If she doesn't sit next to me, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. But for me, it was, I put in the time to get that seat.
I know.
So
but you have to appeal to someone's aura.
Yeah. So I think we were pretty good combo in an airport crisis.
I think we did great.
We did real.
I felt like we navigated it well. Nobody cried.
No.
And then we just kind of moved into the airport. We made a corner very much our own.
Yep, we did. We lived there for about 9 hours. It
started off kind of like, oh God, I'm out of place. Oh, this airport, I don't want to stay here much longer. And then by the end, I was like, I could live here.
Yeah, I was becoming a regular. I knew people. I recognized faces. Even John said hello to me later on in the day.
Yeah, John. Oh, did he?
Yeah. Me and Bree were walking around, and there was John.
Hey, John.
Yeah, we gave a hello. I felt like almost like Tom Hanks in that movie.
That Tom Hanks movie, whatever that one was called.
Yeah,
Where's my voucher? Where's my voucher?
Yeah.
Not for weather, sir.
Yeah. I do want to add one of the, and this is, I'll be done. I've added a lot of personal stuff on this one. So,
yeah.
But I will say, when Abby made it up that notch trail.
Yeah.
The pride that I had. And she made it up that trail.
She did. She did good. She went up and down. Down was way scarier, by the way.
I was just so amazed. It was just an incredible moment for me when she got to that top and then down, which was harder. Yeah, you're right. It was harder.
Yeah. It was a very fun trip. We had a good time.
Yeah.
We had a good bonding time and we disrupted our auras.
Yes.
And I want to hear about how you are going to disrupt your auras and also your travel nightmares, because that's just fun to talk about in general and how your aura color deals with it over on the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family Facebook group, which you are free to join if you have not already. This podcast is for you and about you, and we're so glad you spent some time with us today.
Hello, podcast fans. If you're looking for a new podcast, if you enjoy articles, books, pop culture, and hilarity, try listening to the Brain Candy Podcast.
That's right. The Brain Candy Podcast has over 500 episodes of educational hilarity to satiate your learning needs. Just search for the Brain Candy Podcast on your podcast app or click the link in the show notes.